All right.
Nice.
Well, my next guest on the Alex Garrett podcasting, we met in January at the Thurman Munson dinner, and the rest of the time's a blur, right? Because right after the dinner, we kind of went right into COVID and shut down. But my next guest is Pete Spano. You might know him as a USA basketball coach. You might know him as a humanitarian, a globetrotter, even someone who travels the world. And he's got this amazing charity, and he does amazing charity work. Pete, first of all, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Really appreciate it.
It's been a little bit of time, but I'm glad we finally are doing this. And you are doing things even through this pandemic that I don't know. I'm sure it got a lot of recognition, but I want to give it more recognition. So
Appreciate it.
each other the Munson dinner, and you tell me you're
Yeah.
involved in basketball charities. I was intrigued from the start, but tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, basketball has been a passion of mine since the 90s. It's pretty funny. YMCA was created about 175 years ago, and the game of basketball was created by a YMCA Canadian basketball coach about 150 years ago on my mother's birthday. And I feel like I was kind of born with all of this in my DNA already. But it's such an amazing journey with what I've been able to learn, and now high school and elementary basketball coach in Yonkers, New York. Started my own nonprofit organization a few years ago to help underserved youth through sports, but not just in sports, but to be able to help them, get scholarships for high school and college, and teach them other life lessons like the importance of teamwork and working together in order to accomplish some of the amazing things that we've been able to do in life. And as you know, one of the special guests at the dinner is a near and dear friend of mine, Nancy Lieberman. And I met her back in 2013 around Thanksgiving, and she had 7 basketball courts created all over the country. Yeah, she's in Texas now, but her 8th and 9th court was in Long Beach, New York. After Hurricane Sandy wiped everything out, she partnered up with the actor Billy Crystal, and were able to basically rejuvenate and renovate Long Beach and all of their sports programs and basketball facilities. And from that, I was like, this is what I've been wanting to do since I'm 6, 7 years old. It was just, like I said, it was in my DNA and blood, and was just really passionate and excited about it. Today, her organization has over 90 courts all over the country.
Pete Spano, and he does have this charity, and he does all this work. You are the president of PS Charities, and Nancy Lieberman. I'm sure that also got you through to the women's basketball side of the city. I mean, she is so involved, and I went to Queens College, and they had members of that team in '72 be the first women to play at Madison Square
Nice.
Garden. I'm sure you know that history.
Absolutely. That's awesome that you're a part of that too.
And they did a whole reunion game. Well, they did an honorary game in 2015, and Queens College was at the
Yep.
Mason Classic. It was a fun night. But tell me, so you played basketball as a kid, did you think that PS Charities would be in existence? I know you said from 7 to 8 you wanted to do this, but at what point, how old were you when you really started to make it a reality?
It's something that I've wanted to do my entire life. I've been involved in business and entrepreneurial probably since the age of 10. One of my first I know I've had jobs since I'm 10, 12 years old. I was always coaching, refereeing in the community, a part of something, and doing a lot of business. But right after I graduated high school, I became a manager of Foot Locker. And Foot Locker actually paved the way for some amazing things, helped me, right out of high school without a college degree. I was able to start investing in real estate and cars, and just traveling the world, and practicing and doing camps with the NBA Development League at the time, the D League, which is now the G League, when there was less than 7 teams there.
Sure.
And I just knew that, basketball is my passion. It was something I wanted to be a part of. I used to drive 5.5 hours to Erie, Pennsylvania from New York, and then go to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. and again, see where the first few rules were created by and invented by the great Dr. James Naismith. And
Yeah.
so many amazing moments and experiences in my life that, I'm just been blessed to learn and then share and to teach and educate others through, through the sport. It's so phenomenal.
And what to you, what does basketball teach? I want to get into that because I hear a lot about it, but from your perspective, what does basketball teach?
From my perspective, what I've been able to learn and watch, from the Pistol Pete era and Dr. J and Magic and the Showtime Lakers. I mean, the, the young kid growing up, I watch a lot of documentaries and I hear a lot of stories. Last night, I was watching a couple of Allen Iverson highlights with some interviews, some Jason Williams highlights with interviews. But basically, it's just like, it's a business, it's a sport, it's life. It helps you stay in shape. It helps you learn, how to work together in a small group or a team with everybody who has a common goal. And whether you're from United States, whether you're from New York, whether you're from a
Hmm.
different country, you all are coming together for a common goal to achieve something that's greater than yourself. And the team has to make a lot of sacrifice. And some people see it as, how many points do I score a game, or how many steals, block. It's not really about the stats. It's, whether you're a starter, you're a role player, everybody has an important position on the bench, whether you're the water boy, the towel boy, you're the coach, you're everyone
Right.
is a part of the game. Having the opportunity to go to so many games when I was younger, and see, what goes on the basketball games that you don't normally see if you're not at the game. I know you've visited games before, and you see the halftime shows, and when they have timeouts, all of the awesome community work that they do, and
Yeah.
the different
Well,
shows
and we even see
where
that at
they
the
get
college basketball
community
level.
involved.
I see St. John's in between every, break have a community. I mean, basketball is such a cultural fabric of the city, and I feel like you're tapping into that every day. But I got to ask you this:
Absolutely.
we're both sitting there at the Munson dinner, and Diana Munson brings up
Hmm.
Kobe, and of course, it hit her because her husband Thurman Munson passed, crashed,
Hmm.
died, and but as such a
Yep.
basketball enthusiast, to see a baseball widow cross that line into basketball and discuss that, what was that like for
I mean, it was very awesome to hear her story and learn about Thurman Munson. My dad's favorite sport was baseball. He was a catcher and used to be able to, without getting up, catch a 90-mile-per-hour fastball and get it to any base quicker than it was
you?
thrown
That's
at him.
amazing.
So, I love all sports. Basketball just so happened to be one of the ones that I've thrived on the most, but I've participated in soccer, tennis, and just like yourself, I'm sure a number of sports that you're interested in, hockey and whatnot. But her sharing that story and the transition into what it's been able to provide for her life is amazing. I feel like it starts at youth sports, and then it turns into so many other things beyond what we can even fathom.
Well, and tonight, yeah, tonight we saw AD hit the game winner, and
Yep,
those guys probably thought Kobe was watching over him in that moment, don't you think?
absolutely. I think he's watching over the entire organization at this moment, and I'm pretty
Absolutely.
sure that they're definitely gonna bring home the championship this year, without a doubt, with all the energy, all of the stuff that's happening in the universe right now. It's been their time. It's well over a decade since they've been able to even be in the playoffs, and now they have, I don't want to say super team, but they have everybody on the same page.
They do, and of course Anthony Davis kind of was, and LeBron before they got to LA, they were their own people, right,
Yeah,
on the teams. Now they got to collect,
absolutely.
and they're winning. But because you mentioned the Lakers and because you have a love of the Lakers, what would it mean if this
Hmm.
franchise really did get back up and running for the league and be the Lakers of yore again?
I mean, they are at this point with everything that's going on in the world. I'm just happy that we still have sports.
Hmm.
I only am able to coach a handful of kids at a time because of social distancing and everything that's going on. But when I started my program a few years ago, we had maybe 5 or 6 kids that grew to 60 to 100 kids within the first few years. And going from, I started at the elementary level, and now I'm in the high school level. I'm a head coach of a JV team, an assistant coach of a varsity team, and it's kind of hard for us not being able to get the whole team out at once together, and just facilitating maybe 2 kids at a time on each side of the court. The fact that we still have sports and that it's, they created this safe environment for them in Florida, I think it's pretty awesome. I wish we could have little bubbles in every state and we could continue
Yeah,
to do the great work that they're working on.
absolutely. So let's get to your programs. COVID hits. It had to affect you guys mightily, and yet you moved through it and pushed through it, and you're back out there, right? So just from March to now, give us a synopsis of how PS Charities has been able to survive.
Come March, a lot of the facilities that I was operating with, our YMCA, our Police Athletic League, all of our New York sports clubs, everything basically shut down.
Hmm.
And I had organized earlier in the year like a March Madness event. Usually every year for the past several years, I've been blessed to be a part of the NCAA Final Four, and I usually go
Hmm.
to a lot of the events. And I've had opportunities several years to kind of hold the championship trophy before the last game even started. So like I've had access to the championship trophy before the team has, and that experience for a person who never had the opportunity to play college basketball, but knew that I was at that level from high school, and just like I said, being a blessed to play with NBA players and their families and coach some of them, and you know help them build and follow through with their
Hmm.
legacy has been a very humbling and honorable opportunity.
And then the pandemic hits, and you weren't able to do the March Madness. But how did you keep your kids?
No, we weren't able to do anything for like 90 or 100 days actually. But going into the one of the articles that I sent you, I was blessed to be invited again for Nancy Lieberman's 40th anniversary for 2 weeks in July, and that helped reignite and start our character and skills development with a couple of hundred kids in Frisco, Texas, where they have a facility that usually hosts the minor leagues for some of the Dallas Mavericks. They're called the Texas Legends out there.
Okay.
And yeah, after that, came back to New York, quarantined for a while. And then I was like, school season's getting ready to start. We're hoping to have a season. We don't know if we'll have a season. Probably not happening this year, but we're hoping January we'll be able to resume high school basketball. And last year I got a few of my teams the opportunity to play during halftime shows of the Westchester Knicks games, and our varsity team made it to the semifinals and lost by 1 point when we were up two. Somebody hit a corner three off the backboard from us. It was really a shattering experience, and I'm like, I don't want to relive that again if we have a season next year. So I've gathered a couple of the guys together, and we went on the court that we built right after the NBA All-Star Weekend in Charlotte last year that I mentioned to you,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
been pretty awesome just getting out there, getting back to work, and getting everybody on the right page.
how were the kids' spirits just as a pandemic hit, and then they must have been busting out the gate trying to play again, right? I mean, they were so excited.
Absolutely. I mean, during the pandemic, it was a little humbling for everybody. I'm sure for others, it was somewhat depressing because they weren't able to do all of the things that they were passionate about. They weren't able to finish school. A lot of our
Hmm.
seniors that graduated didn't have a graduation. A lot of different emotions going on with different people depending on what grade or level they were in life. But I just try to stay humble and focused on the good that we can do as much as possible. If you let the negativity or the bad experiences consume you, it's
How did you
it's not
stay?
good.
I mean,
So
it sounds like you got out of the state for a bit to do this camp, which is great. But what were the other
absolutely.
ways you stayed sane during this whole thing? And how did you
Can you repeat the last portion of that question? I'm sorry, you got cut off.
sorry, how did you stay sane during this whole thing, aside from the trip to Texas? And secondly, how did you work on the project when you actually couldn't play ball? How did you work on this during the downtime that you had?
I've just been taking a lot of notes. I'm working on a book that I'm looking to release end of this year or early next year. I've been staying busy, just keeping in shape, trying to exercise, stretch, work out as much as possible, eat right, and do the right things, and just occupy my mind with positive things that will help me continue to grow and flourish and accomplish what it is that we need to do for this year.
Well, you talk about how you were involved with the D League, and you talk about
Yep.
how you've had this NBA experience. So, any big
Yep.
players that you could think of that have stopped by and helped you grow your charities?
Well, Smush Parker, who won a championship with the Lakers, was a really awesome friend of mine. We competed head to head against each other. We've been teammates for a while. Some of the Globetrotters that grew up in my local neighborhood, and as I go around, I have built an awesome relationship with a lot of people in the basketball community. I don't know if you've heard of the movie Rebound with Earl Manigault, but
Okay,
several summers ago, I've been involved with the Nike Basketball Pro City Summer League, and
cool.
I've had the opportunity basically my whole life surrounded by a lot of professional players and their families, and just learning from them and taking pages from different people's books. Um, Got to meet a lot of championship coaches. I actually got to meet Del Harris several years ago, who was one of Kobe Bryant's first coaches. And again, just like learning and being a student athlete of the game has helped me advance my life and has helped me help others get to the next level.
Well, speaking of next level, I want to pull up this story because you're based in Yonkers and
Yep.
you had recently, in 2020, repaired a damaged court up in Yonkers, and I was so moved by that because Pete, in a year when everybody says we have to lock down, you're like, no, we're going to rebuild. And I like to say, while our people, our leaders like to say, we will rebuild. There are people who are saying we are
Yep.
rebuilding. You are one of those people that are saying we are rebuilding. So tell us what you did in Yonkers
Absolutely.
due to fireworks damage to a
Uh,
basketball court.
pretty funny, pretty funny story is I have a great relationship with the kid who started the fire.
Hmm.
And I know his story, and I know that he's in the underserved area and where we had first built the court. And he doesn't really have the guidance of either of his parents, unfortunately. And he's with an elderly grandparent and basically comes and goes as he pleases, and got caught up with some of the older kids in the wrong crowd, and 4 o'clock in the morning had nothing to do while I was out in Texas, and decided to burn a couple of hundred tiles on my court. And I said, came back, and it hit really hard, but then reality struck, and not in my house.
Yeah.
So it took us about 2.5 hours to rebuild. And I sent you the story of it. It sped up about 3,000 steps in 5 minutes.
That's
And
amazing.
we pulled together a couple of cool songs that told a good story. And we have some partners, and we're looking to do it again in the near future once we could once our leaders allow it. There's only so much that one person can do, but when we, like I said, when we get a team of people behind us, it's endless or limitless with the amount of success and accomplishments that we can do together.
Is local leadership helping at all? Like your Yonkers local leadership, are they involved? Do you get involved with them as well to get maybe funding or get
Absolutely.
support?
Every Monday morning or afternoon, I volunteer with one of our main partners and sponsors, the YMCA,
Yeah.
and we're connected to a program called Feeding Westchester, where they get a couple of 1,000 pounds of food donated to serve to people who can't buy it at ShopRite right next door. and the line wraps around Riverdale Avenue behind the ShopRite back to the back door of the YMCA, and it's literally sometimes a couple of hours that we're out there. You know, as much food as we
Masked up.
have, we make sure that.
I want people to understand that you guys are still staying safe while you're doing all this work. So I guess you guys are masked up as you're
We're organizing with social distancing. Everybody has masks and gloves, and you know, we
Can
make
people
sure
join
that
you?
we. What's that?
Can people join you as well in this effort?
Absolutely. We have, you know, a strong team of committed people that are willing to do good for as long as we're here. We're a vessel for something greater than ourselves. And like I said, when we come together, the amount of accomplishments and success is basically endless. If you could
Now,
dream it, you could achieve it.
absolutely. Now, Pete, you mentioned you do have connections with professional players. But let's say
Hmm.
a team tonight is listening to this and they say, well, you know what, this is interesting. Let me figure out. Do you partner with the teams within the NBA? Has that happened yet? And how are you working toward that goal? And how can even this podcast and people listening help you get to that goal?
I mean, right now it's a little tough with everything being in Orlando. But another interesting story that I wanted to share with you. Again, when I was 7 years old, I always knew that I was going to be part of the Knicks legacy and dynasty, and you know, grew up watching Larry Johnson, John Starks, and Allen Houston, and the whole squad that were able to, you know, bring us the closest that we were able to achieve at that time. About 5 years ago, I'm sure you're familiar with Mike Miller, who was a high school and college basketball coach from Texas. He came to New York and they started the Westchester Knicks that I mentioned to you earlier in this interview that were based out of Erie, Pennsylvania. So Mike Miller, high school and college basketball coach, now becomes the D League to the G League head coach of the Westchester Knicks in their first season. And I was just there, you know, helping out with an event for the kids when all of a sudden I hear, oh, by the way, there's a celebrity all-star game right now, and John Starks is playing against Allen Houston, or I'm sorry, John Starks is playing against Larry Johnson. Allen Houston is the general manager and the assistant general manager of both Knicks organizations. So they're all in attendance, and Larry Johnson, you know, also being one of my favorite players, part of the Space Jam movie, I was a part of his team and hit a clutch like Damian Lillard half-court shot to bring Larry Johnson's team over John Starks to help get the victory. And you know, like I said, it's just a combination of putting positive energy and being in the right place at the right time. I'm not sure who's going to listen to this, what's going to actually come from it, but I know that I'm going to do the absolute best I can with everything that's on my plate and table. And once it's clear, you know, we're going to go and serve as many as possible and help them fill their plates and bring success to the next level.
When these kids not only play, but when they see the John Starks, the Allen Houstons, the Larry Johnsons come through your organization to meet them, what are their faces like?
In shock. They were like, no way Coach Pete made this happen. Yeah.
That's very
and
cool.
they love it. And now more people are flocking to our school, and it's pretty awesome. You know, I've been blessed to have really great parents and to help provide a really great education. But the school that I coach at, unfortunately, is about $8,000 per semester a year. So not everybody's afforded the opportunity. But if they're a student athlete and they're coachable and teachable, you know, we're willing to work with them and help them get scholarships for high school and college. And we want to learn about them and develop their character, you know, just in case they don't become the professional player that they want to be here in the States or overseas. I'm working right now with future doctors, dentists, lawyers, chiropractors, and maybe the next few mayors and governors. Who knows what everything is going to evolve from basketball, but I know that they're enjoying
Pete,
life and they're learning, and I'm
that
loving
is
it.
so important. Yeah, that is so important to talk about because, and up until this quarantine, I think even more so because we don't know how the schedule is going to play out for college ball. But you would say there's a
Absolutely.
lot of pressure on these student athletes at every level. So how does your organization
Absolutely.
ease that pressure?
How do we deal with pressure?
And how do you ease it for them that they can have fun with it and not feel pressured by it?
Oh, what we do is we focus on what we can while we can. We look at it one day at a time, and we look at what we can do, not what we can't do.
Hmm.
And like I said, I'm out there volunteering for a couple hours a day, and then I'm working mainly from home right now. But I'm reaching out to some awesome people like yourself, and finding a way that we could find synergy and collaboration and connection to develop greater good for ourselves and society.
I did want to ask because obviously the virtual e-learning world is like a norm now. So how are you helping
Oh
your
yeah.
student athletes deal with that?
It's pretty funny because we got them tablets, and you know they were using them for games or whatever else that it was. But
Yeah.
we do now in the school host. We have enough classroom space because we're a private school. We don't have thousands of kids. We have a select couple of hundred that are coming to school maybe 2 or 3 times a week. They just started about a week ago, but a lot of their parents, unfortunately, that they're working from home. They're not making as much money, but they're there to make sure that the kids are watching the Zooms. And for the ones that need to go to work, we have programs at either the school or the YMCA that will help them with the Zooms post or prior if they have any questions. They're willing to go over it a little bit more thoroughly. So it's not just watch this half hour or hour video and figure it out on your own. They want to make sure that the content is absorbed and is put to good use.
Hey, are they all connecting through you like the YMCA in your school? Is that a connection you created or how did that happen?
It is a connection that I created, and I've been blessed to be in the community and part of several organizations that we're all kind of connected anyway, but
Hmm.
it's just starting the right conversations with the right people to get everybody on the same page. I don't want to say that it happened because of me, but they've been out there hundreds of years before I was even thought of.
Sure, sure. But I
The
gotta
school
ask
started
because
in the
I can just sense with through Pete Spano Charities and through your personality and through your go-getting spirit, you were like a bridge to so many different and a link. 7, 8 years old on the basketball court, just thrown to the hoop. Did you ever think you'd be this bridge, this link to the community in the way you are?
um not at 7 years old, but I knew that this was my life and this is what I wanted. I didn't know all of the
Details?
avenues that it had. But yeah, I knew that this is what I was passionate about. This is what excited. This is what motivated me. This is what took me away from the video games and the binge eating,
Mm.
and it helped me get in shape and create a better lifestyle for myself.
And I could
So
tell
I was
that
all about it.
our faith based, right? So you believe this is God's
Mm.
calling for you.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That is really, really special. Um, you did mention a number, and I want to kind of get back to that for a second. You said $8,000.
Sure.
Is that like a goal you guys have to meet? I was just trying to figure that out.
No, it's $8,000 per kid per year to attend our school.
Wow.
It's a private high school, and it's like I said, it's not easy. It's not for everybody, but we the ones that want it, we create those bridges for them.
Well, and I've got to say though, the general public could probably help you guys out because of the financial
Oh,
crisis. I'm sure
absolutely.
that's weighing heavily
Uh,
right now.
Absolutely. I had a kid that I've been coaching for the past 4 years, and when he came here, it was a real eye opener for him and his family. And they're
Hmm.
extremely grateful for the opportunity. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to help be a positive role model and influence in everyone's life that has been in mine. It's basically like just passing the torch back
Yeah,
or forward, I should say, passing it forward,
I would say paying it forward for sure.
paying it forward.
Because I mean, it sounds like you also had a lot of breaks come along your way, and now you want to pass that on to someone else
Absolutely.
that needs it.
Definitely.
This is such a tenuous time,
Hmm.
and we often now are hearing how the COVID crisis really did expose what some would say is the inner city crisis because of the testing
Yeah,
and the not testing. Did you see that? Did you
absolutely.
see there was a big difference between the community, inner city community, and maybe the suburban? Like, what did you notice?
Um, I noticed that the whole world is struggling, whether you're the poorest or the richest. I think society needs to come together and put their differences aside or behind them, and realize that we have a lot more in common than we think, and
Because
just
personally,
find a
it
common
bothered me
ground.
that they would only say it was that. I didn't like that they were saying there was such a big divide, because I feel like at the end of the day, we can build the gap, we can build the bridge,
Bridge
but
the gap.
by telling us there's a gap, it just made it seem more political than it should have been. I don't know. That was just my thought.
I think almost everything we do could be flipped around in politics based on somebody's opinion and where they're looking to go with it. But yeah, you just have to live your life. And if somebody doesn't want to come up to your level, you can only extend your hand so far down to bring them up. You know, everything has levels in life. We try to lift others as we rise in whatever we do. But some people are just complacent or content, and that's a point of their point of view. But I feel like if you could change one person's life, you know, maybe they'll change thousands. Maybe it's not you. Maybe we're just the vessel for our starting five, you know? Who knows?
Oh, I
But
love that
we
line.
can keep going. Yeah.
And and Pete, where can people get in touch with you and the charity? I know you have 3 different websites, so just tell us about everything.
Five different websites, but the main ones
5.
that I use are what you usually communicate with me on. It is Pete Spano 2 on basically every social media platform. I'm pretty much involved in LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I have a Facebook page, and I'm also on IMDb, which is Internet Media Database, and
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. We have pscharities.org. At pscharity18 is the best way to inquire about charity collaborations or projects. But you know, you have my number, you have my links, my sites. If you know, you share them, and you have people that can benefit from it, and vice versa. You know, like I said, reach one, teach one. We all have something that we can provide for someone else at some point in our lives, hopefully.
Absolutely. I see you wearing the NBA hat. I know you're a big fan. Can't let you go without saying what's
One,
gonna
one
happen.
dream.
Oh, I love that hat. That is a classic hat.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
this whole thing, Lakers were expected, Nuggets were not expected.
Yeah.
Celtics, Celtics losing was sort of a shocker. Who would have thought they'd lose to Miami, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the
It's true.
unpredictability, what does that lead to? Could the Celtics be knocked out by an up and coming Heat team?
Anything is possible. I mean, they're both competing in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you know, anything is possible. You looked at what happened with other teams that were up certain numbers, and it all comes down to who's hungry, humble, and plays the game with their heart and their intelligence, because it's like a game of chess or or uh, or more than the game. It's like I said, it comes down to the hunger and the ambition and the unity and the drive of the whole team. One
Hmm.
player can only carry so far, but when you have a diverse and dynamic group, and everybody's on the same page, and they're all focused on their next meal in
Hmm.
terms that other players have put it, they're worried about their food, and that's what it comes down to. I can't predict who's going to take it in the Eastern Conference, but I'm sure yourself, myself, and the rest of the world know that Los Angeles has the West right now. But
Yeah.
even that is
Well, you
teams
never
looking to
know. I
win
mean, the
3-1, and then
Nuggets
they
came
win
back
360.
a little bit,
Yeah,
so we'll have to see.
exactly. They came back and did a 360. Who says that they can't do it again?
Hey, one last thing, because there are other sports going on. Your
Absolutely.
sport, basketball, but has the
Hmm.
organization gotten attention from, say, other sports like baseball, football, hockey?
We go to events, and sometimes our organization or team gets tickets to bring a couple of people, whether it's through our YMCA or a police athletic league. If we have extra tickets to bring kids somewhere that weren't able to afford that opportunity, yes, definitely. A few years ago, the Mets were against Kansas City for the World Series, and I was blessed to
Right.
be a part of that. Last year, I was blessed to be a part of the U.S. Open, and on our next basketball project, we're hoping to attach an awesome partnership with the U.S. Open. But yeah, everything is just through sports, and basketball may or may not be your sport, but we just want to let kids know that there's other options or opportunities back there. They don't have to settle or get stuck in a level where they feel like they can't develop
Oh
or
my
grow.
gosh, I got to bring you back for that other conversation then, because I think we both
Go
agree
for
that
it.
so many people pigeonholing, saying no, you got to stay with
Absolutely.
one sport and one sport only. And I think you and I can agree that's the worst
No,
thing
no, no.
to have. The worst. You know, Aaron Judge, home run derby winner, but he played ball, he played
Yep,
football, he played all these other sports, and you wonder why he's such a good
yep.
athlete because he had all these other sports. And I think you'd agree, every sport builds a different kind of character. So if you stick them in one
Absolutely. And
sport,
different skill sets.
and if you stick them in one sport and say that's the sport you're going to be, it actually does more harm than good. Would you agree?
I don't know about harm, but I feel like it will make you maybe close-minded because there's people who stuck with one sports and they did their best at it, and so be it. But if you look at, I was listening to Jason Williams' documentary. Him and Randy Moss were high school players together, and Randy Moss was very good at basketball, and then he became a professional football player. Allen Iverson was going his passion and main love was football. He had a tragic incident, and then all of a sudden, basketball became his life. He looked up to Michael Jordan. He got to play Michael Jordan, But then you look at players like, I don't know everybody's full story, so you could quote me or correct me if I'm wrong, but there's players in the Yankees and the Mets that only did baseball. And I don't want to say that it harmed them, but it may have limited other experiences if they haven't, tried. You don't know what you can do until you try. I could agree to that statement. But a baseball player can be also a golf player, a hockey player. It's similar motions with a puck or a baseball, whether you're swinging from your toes at the chest level, you're trying to knock it over the fence, you're trying to hit it over the 200-yard
Right?
tee. I mean, it's just you and the ball or the puck or whatever the thing is that you create. Sometimes you just have something and you get inspired and you create your own game, like Dr.
Right.
James Naismith did 150 years ago. But you just have to not dwell, but focus and thrive on what you have and what inspires you at the end of the day, I believe.
And I also agree in expanding the horizons, for sports, for sure. Um,
Absolutely. But you could be a one sport person and have three professional careers because of that sport.
that's a very true point too. I didn't think of it in that context. With this conversation, I just thought, man, you're encouraging people to do other sports too, and I love hearing that. So keep spreading your
Absolutely.
message. Let me tell you, it's a message of positivity, and it's a time where we need more positivity, right? So thank you, Pete, for bringing that to
Absolutely.
Out There podcasting. And please come back. Please let us know how things are going.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you setting the time aside for this. I know we've been trying to set it up since the dinner, and I'm glad that we were both able to work it
It's
out
God's
in
timing, man. I
our
really
busy
feel
schedule.
it. Uh, I really
Absolutely.
feel it. And yeah, it's special. So, Pete, great to talk with you. We'll see you again with things opening up. Hopefully, see you soon in person.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thank you, Alex. Stay safe, my
Um,
man.
you too. I'm Alex Garrett. This is another edition